Righty ho, so we've jumped down a couple hives and we're going to film Ostia.
So last year Ostia had some issues with queen. You can see
It's a small novel.
we wrote a lot. In the end what we did was put in a queen from another queen breeder, and that queen is marked. So you'll see she's got a little blue dot on her, which makes her easier to find, and that way you also know if you've got a queen and she's got no blue dot, there's a new queen in there. A lot of the time the colour of the dots tells you what year the queen was bred in, but that particular queen breeder just marks all of her queens as blue, so it doesn't for us. In this case, actually they could do with a feed as well.
Yeah.
They're quite light.
So what he means by light is usually you can tell by the weight of the store boxes how heavy they are based on how much honey they've got. So Damien is saying that they're light, which means they don't have a lot of honey in there. But as you can see, there's way more bees in here than there was in Crete. So that's one sign that it's a bit healthier. Which way are they flying in from?
Through and behind you.
I might go behind Damien because I seem to be
Yeah, you're sitting right in the
right in flight line.
So if you're around a beehive, don't stand where the bees are flying in and out, because they'll just tend to land on you.
I'm getting bop-bops.
So I'm just trying to get the smoker going properly. I want a nice full smoke. Then we'll take the queen excluder off. Oh, this is a hive tool, by the way.
Yeah. That's what we use.
Can't beekeep without a hive tool of some sort, because the bees stick everything together, as you can see.
Ooh.
So when we look here, we've got what we'd call a queen cup. That's in case they need to make a queen up, and I can look and go not laden. So that tells me right now they're not trying to make queens. So we'll just, so this is the first time we've gone through these hives since winter.
I think I went through them the other day.
No, I just came through, checked they were queen right,
Huh.
removed the rower strips and fed them because it was very cold.
So first frame out, you can see there's a lot of bees, so that is really different to the other hive. I think a big part of beekeeping is you're always looking for what is different. So once you know what your normal should be, anything that's different is when you need to start investigating into what's going on. So yeah, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, so it's still pollen and honey at this point on the outside, because they don't have to keep that warm. They just go and get food from it. And then in a bigger hive, in the middle of summer, you would expect this would be completely covered in brood with a little bit of honey and a little bit of pollen. So at the moment, what we've got is a little bit of brood and lots of pollen and a little bit of honey. But the queen can be on any frame. So because we're doing a disease inspection, I'm going to shake the bees into the box. And I'm looking inside, I can see eggs around the outside, then some larvae. Underneath these cells will be larvae or pupae. Let's have a look at one. Maybe this hive tool's not as sharp as the other one. There you go. Nice and pearly white, so healthy. Nothing that looks like a problem. And then a big patch of drone brood. You can see how that stands out. And lots of larvae over here. I don't know if you can see that.
I can see your head.
Yep.
Cool.
And these ones that are closing up, I can see inside, they're healthy. They're just capping it to allow the bee to pupate.
It's like a cool yarn.
Yeah.
It's supposed to rain this afternoon, so.
So on this frame, there's lots of capped brood.
Yeah. So when Damien shakes it off, you'll see the difference in what this one's probably got a better brood pattern for laying, and yeah, you'll be able to compare it to the one that we saw in the other hive.
So what I'm looking for now before I shake the bees off, I'm making sure the queen's not on here because she's a bit taller, and no doubt if I shook her off, I'm much more likely to hurt her. So you can see that.
Brood pattern's way better.
And then
That's
that's what you want to see. It's all even. There's one on the outside that's being kept over. No problems.
And so to see that, what with the third frame in, so that's just another sign that the hive is really strong and healthy. And I think it's quite cool having the other hive that we've already looked at as a comparison.
So for this hive, what we need to think about is making sure there's enough room for the bees to do things and not get in the way. Because if the bees, say the bees are all standing all over the frames and they've got no jobs to do, then they get in the way of the queen, and that starts to invoke a response where they'll go, okay, well this hive is full, so we'll leave and we'll swarm. You can see this bee here is exposing a little tiny almond-shaped bit on her tail.
Oh, I don't know if I zoomed that blooming good. He's asking a lot of the filmmaker here.
Yeah, and she's fanning her wings, blowing the
Bloody
scent
yeah.
out, and the scent's coming out and saying, this is home. So all the
Yeah.
bees that have never left home can find their way back while I'm doing this.
There's something else I was going to say, but forgotten. Oh yeah, you can see at the time, it's probably not so prevalently obvious now, but you could see how the smoke, when Damien puffed the smoke, how it made the bees move. So we use it, sometimes if they're grumpy it calms them down, but a lot of the time we use it just to move them so that we don't end up squishing them when we're taking the frames out. And because Damien's shaking the bees off to do the disease inspection, you can see that the hive frames that he's already done are a lot emptier of bees, so they're all moving across.
The problem you have is as you shake them off, they tend to move to the other frames and you just build up bigger populations that you have to shake off later. So this one looks a little bit different. It's got more holes in it, but that's because these are older and they're coming out. You can see there's bees emerging. So they'll come out, they'll clean themselves, they'll clean their cell, and then they'll become bees in the hive who look after cleaning up, and then they'll go through a whole lot of other jobs before they go outside.
So the other day at home, because the weather had been cold for such a long time over winter, and then the first sort of day we had some sun, there were a lot of bees that were just sort of flying out and sort of buzzing around the hive. They were doing what we call orientation flights. So for them it's the first time out of the hive, and so they're just figuring out where their hive is. So they pop out and do a little circuit and sort of figure out the trees and plants and so forth that are around the hive, so that when they go off foraging for pollen and nectar, they know how to find their way back home, which is kind of cool.
So you can see we're getting more and more bees as I've shaken them off.
Hopefully we find the queen soon.
Yeah, that would be good.
But given the temperament, they seem quite happy. We'll pretty soon know if it's queenless. They just sort of fly up, and they will fly up and pelt your veil, and are just generally very grumpy. A lot of bees. Anybody keen to count them? Give you a couple of fish who can tell me how many are there.
It means you have to count them so you know.
Yeah, this is true.
So I can't see the queen on there. The other thing is she could be walking up the bottom or the sides, or she could be walking on the box. So you don't see her every time.
So that's why it's really good to be able to see. You guys are gonna laugh when I say it. Eggs in the hive, because you know if you've got eggs, then you've got a laying queen. So especially when the population is bigger than this, it's really hard to find her. So as long as you can identify that the queen is queen right, you're okay about not seeing her every time you go in. But it's very comforting to see that we haven't seen any signs of raw. Definitely is cooling down.
It is.
So hopefully it doesn't get any cooler, because they start getting grumpy and then they start clinging to you because you're all nice and warm, which makes sense, but it just makes beekeeping that little bit harder. I equate the experience of having a hive taken apart for a bee to you sitting in your living room, you're all nice and warm and snug on a rainy day, and then someone comes along and takes the roof off. So yeah, you'd be pretty peeved.
Gosh.
A lot of bees.
Yep. So the queen could be in there
She can just be hiding
underneath other bees. I don't see her on here. Do you?
No, not from this angle. It's like playing Where's Wally. Except everybody's wearing a striped t-shirt. They're starting to get a little bit frisky. I always think if I'm starting to feel cold, then they definitely will be feeling cold. Yeah.
So usually about this point, the smoker goes out.
Out of puff. Always when you need it. Good old trusty red band gumboots.
Now, where's that wing coming from?
That way. You alright?
Yep. Just need to get in amongst all these bees. So, lots of the communications that happen in the hive are by scent. So the smoke masks things like the alarm smells that bees will give off when someone intrudes into the hive. But it will mask a whole lot of other smells as well. So we want to be judicious with our use of the smoke. And I'm still not seeing a queen. There are masses of bees.
Yeah. Not many frames left.
Nope.
Sometimes she's always on the last one. Scenic moment. Damien does what I call gentleman beekeeping. Takes his time. Most commercial beekeepers would be significantly quicker, but their motives are different. There's the wind starting to pick up. Doesn't look that flash down there.
Seeing this one?
Oh, she must be in there somewhere. I said she must be in there somewhere.
Yep. Finding her though.
But you've seen evidence she's there.
Yep. So we've seen eggs, and that's really what we want to look for. So I just want them moving around because the queen moves differently and she'll be uncovered if she was underneath the bees. That's why I'm blowing on them here before I shake them down.
Alright, I'm just going to step back when he does his shake because they're definitely getting a little bit more interested in me and my ungloved hand.
Okay, last frame.
Dun 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 dun!
Come on, you. It's quite stuck down.
And you can see the gooey propolis on the edge of the frames. And this is the point where you go, please be there. But the thing is, she could have been on the bottom of one frame, she's moved down the road to another frame. She doesn't sit still.
Here she is.
Speak of the devil. Oh gosh, where is she?
Right there, underneath the other bees.
It'd be nice to see that.
So I can see it with the little blue. There you go, blue.
Hey, once you see it, she's very obvious, isn't it?
But then she'll disappear under some more bees because she's trying to lay, so she's got to get to the cells and they're in.
You can see how quickly she
Go away.
moves.
So she's about to flip over to the other side of the frame. So she's gone.
Alright, so
Which means yeah, so she's going to walk back round the other side of the frame
they
again.
quite like dark, so when you're pulled them out of the hive into light, she naturally wants to move towards the dark.
So I want to put this frame back in, but if she's on the bottom, you can see there's all the wax there.
You want to
There's
squish
a
her.
big danger of squishing her between the frame and the floor. So she's there.
Alright. Yay, found the queen. So we might just put the hive back together, no signs of disease, as you can see, nice and strong, although Damien said he might give it a little feed.
Yeah,
Just
for them, the feed that we're going to, so if you give them thin nectar or sugar syrup, that promotes the bees to lay. If you give them very thick sugar syrup, they put it in as food. And in spring, of course, we're normally wanting them to lay lots and build up. So we'll do thin, but there's not very much honey in here. So if we boost that, that will mean that they have enough to keep going. And then if we boost it with sugar syrup, then any honey they bring in the honey season doesn't fill these boxes, it fills the ones that we then take the honey from.
So yeah, we will sign off again. Apologies for the length, but grab some popcorn, make a night of it. And we will talk to you again soon. Bye!